Coming up on The Sporting Chef.
Today, I'm cooking trout, and Hank's got crispy skin. Stacy's in the kitchen, Tommy's got shrimp, Cee Dub's got panfish, Melissa Bachman's gone scouting, and Buddy gets microzapped.
What do you get when you find the best fish and game chefs? Cookbook authors, award winners, fishmongers, outdoor experts, and put them on the fastest half hour on outdoor television. Hosted by one of America's best-known wild game chefs, Scott Leysath, The Sporting Chef. Brought to you by Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
So what I hear often is, what can I do with my trout? How can I give trout flavor? Trout by itself doesn't have a lot of flavor, and because it's a milder fish, you don't really want to bury it with a lot of strong flavors. Well, today I have trout with attitude. I'm going to make a southwestern trout with green chili grits. It's going to be some trout that's going to be a little bit crispy. There's going to be flavor. I've got some peppers in there. Now, you can use Anaheim peppers, those long green ones, but I found these pasillas at the store. I've got a couple of jalapenos. Step one, I'm going to grill these off. So I have my Camp Chef grill box here. The whole idea here is to get it charred on the outside. If you don't have a grill handy, you can actually do it over any open burner. Hold it with a pair of tongs, get it charred on the outside, throw it into a paper bag, and it'll soften up, and then we'll chop it up and put it into our grits. Speaking of grits, what I do is I just put some grits in, and I put some chicken stock and some half and half, and then I'm going to put a whole bunch of cheese in it. Let me start with the chicken stock. Then some half and half. So I'm just going to whisk in this. This is going to get nice and creamy. It's going to thicken up. And while I whisk my grits, I want you to check out Hank Shaw, who's going to show you how to cook salmon with crispy skin. You know Hank.
Well, there's all kinds of salmon that live in our western rivers. There's the Chinook, there's the silvers, and there's the sockeye. Those are kind of the glamour fish that all of us go after. But this here's a pink. Think of a pink salmon like a trout and not like a salmon. If you do that, it'll put you in the right mindset to get a nice, perfect, crispy fish, which is what I'm going to cook right here. You always want to season it. Just a little bit of salt on both sides. And I like to salt a little heavier than you might think otherwise. It gives a nice flavor to the fish. Butter is one of my favorite things to cook fish with because you get good flavor and you get a much browner skin when we do the crispy skin. And you'll notice the skin is on this fish. We're gonna make it super crispy. Get the butter hot and lay the fish down, skin side down. You take a spatula, press down, and hold it for about 30 seconds. Now once you press this down for about 30 seconds, it'll hold, and you'll have a nice good contact between the skin and the pan. Depending on how thick the fish is, it'll take anywhere from between 3 minutes to up to 8 or even 10 minutes. We're never gonna flip this fish. That's the trick on how to cook perfect salmon. Let this cook for a few minutes and then we're gonna baste it. This is where you get all your control. Take a spoon and you baste the top of the fish. All you do is baste it until it turns opaque. Tip the pan and spoon the butter over. See, this is a pink salmon, so it's not gonna stay orange like a regular salmon. It's gonna turn white, much more like a trout. When do you flip it? You don't. When is it done? You test. You use a spatula and just try to pick it up. If it picks up clean, it's ready. If it's not, let it cook. You use your 2 fingers to steady it. And there you go. Perfect crispy skin, like a cracker. All it needs now is a little bit of lemon. You can use lemon, you can use lime, you can use a little vinegar, but just a nice squeeze. Give a little bit of flavor. Perfectly cooked. Cook all the pink salmon you want. Just don't tell them it's salmon. Tell them it's trout. A little trickery never hurt anybody.
So I think my peppers are blackened and blistered. You see that? That's what your pepper should look like. Into a paper bag, and what it's going to do in this paper bag is steam. There's a couple of jalapenos. Done with that, just close the bag up. and just let it sit in that bag for about 15 minutes or so. Next is the masa. This is what's going to coat my trout. I'm going to have regular flour and masa flour. But before I get to the trout, I want you to check out this handy tip. You know, I do a lot of game feeds, and I've been involved with a lot of game feeds where people clean out their freezer, and I get an assortment of wild game that has been handled in a couple of different ways. But it's not unusual for people to bring me freezer burnt pieces of meat like that that are from many, many, many years ago. This here has been packed in a food saver bag, and it is from a much more recent hunt. What would you rather eat? This freezer burnt old package of pheasant legs, or this almost fresh pintail that's been vacuum packaged? It's important that you rotate your inventory. Make sure that you eat the oldest stuff first and save the new stuff for tomorrow. Trout with attitude, Stacy Harris, Tommy Gomes, and more coming up on The Sporting Chef. Welcome back to The Sporting Chef. This is my southwestern trout with green chili grits. Now, I roasted my pasilla and jalapeno peppers, scraped the skin off, chopped them up. That's going over here into my grits. And if you don't like the thought of putting these hot peppers in there, if you don't like the thought of having peppers in here, you can leave the pepper part out. Once they're roasted and they go into the bag like that, what happens is they get roasted flavor. They're not nearly as hot. I've taken out the seeds and most of the rib on the inside. That's where the heat is. Here's some jack cheese. I'm going to give this some more heat in just a little bit. For now, I'll cover it up, and I want to get started on my trout. So for my trout, I have this just all-purpose flour. There's my masa flour. I'm going to give it some more flavor. I have some High Mountain Cajun Campfire. The Cajun Campfire is going to add flavor. It's going to add a little bit of salt also, but it's not just a bunch of salt. Cajun Campfire. I've got some oil heating up in a skillet over here. Then let me just give this a stir. I'm going to take the trout. These are trout fillets. These I didn't catch. These are store-bought, but of course you can do the same thing with your trout at home. And if you don't have trout and you have any kind of fish on hand, this recipe works well with that. I have the skin on because I happen to like crispy skin on the trout. And you don't want to have a whole bunch of this coating on here. Just enough to just lightly dust it, and what the dusting does is it's going to make it crispy and brown on the outside. All right, you're going to go presentation side down. That's better. Make sure you shake a lot of that flour off, and I have a few tablespoons of oil in there, and that is olive oil that I'm using. One more thing I want to add to my grits over here that I'm going to bring back up to temperature is a little pinch of ground cumin. And a little bit of cumin goes a long way, so don't use too much cumin. All right, that's going to brown. I'm going to bring the grits back up to temperature, probably add a little bit more liquid. And right now I have Stacy Harris with a few tips on kitchen tools.
Scott, these are my go-to kitchen essentials. I have to have my 8-inch chef's knife. This is a fantastic size, perfect for cutting vegetables, perfect for taking silver skin out of venison. It's perfect for just about any use. The next thing on my list is my steel. This is awesome for when you feel like your knives are losing their edge. This will help get the edge right back. A lot of people believe in using that every time you use your knife. So a couple of times a week for me is good. This is another great knife. These are really the two knives that you absolutely need in your kitchen. This one cuts bread fantastically. This one is for everything else. I love to have my twine. You can just about do anything as long as you have your knives, your cutting board, and your twine, and your cast iron. This twine will wrap up any kind of herbs that you have, any kind of things that you foraged for, berries, anything like that. You can use this twine to wrap it up inside your venison, inside quail, whatever you want to do to keep things together, you're going to use that. The next thing is a cast iron skillet. You can do just about anything in this. You can do eggs in it, you can do vegetables, you can eat brown meat. It's just an all-purpose dish. And last but absolutely not least is my wonderful Dutch oven. I absolutely love the Dutch oven. You can use this straight over fire. You can put it on your stove. You can do anything with it, and it braises meats perfectly even. This is one of my very favorite tools in the kitchen. With these tools and a heat source, indoors or outdoors, you can cook just about anything you want to.
All right, the trout is browned. I gave it a flip, and it's going to be nice and crispy. So you want to take this trout, put it somewhere warm, just cover it up a little bit of foil, put it into a 200-degree oven, keep it warm. I'm going to just put it right here and pretend that it's warm. And with that skillet, I want to make sure that I'm going to get out most of the oil in there, but it's okay to leave some of that flour and masa mixture. I have onions, jalapeno, and I like mine a little spicy, so I'm leaving the seeds in. If you don't like it quite so spicy, take the seeds out. That's going into this skillet here. And this is going to be the sauce that goes over the whole mixture. I have some red and orange bell peppers, just because I happen to have a few. A little bit of garlic, a splash of white wine, and this white wine is going to deglaze the pan and bring some of the flavor that was stuck to the pan from the fish to the sauce. I want to keep my eye on this. I just want to do this until those onions are translucent. And to that skillet, I'm also going to add some more of that chicken stock that I had from the grits. Give that a stir. And once this is reduced, I'm going to throw in some tomatoes and some fresh cilantro. Big bunch of lemon juice, freshly squeezed lemon juice. I'll do that 2 times. I'm going to season that with some more of the High Mountain Cajun Campfire. Give it a stir. And while this is reducing, I want you to check out my good friend Tommy Gomes. Nobody knows more about shrimp than Tommy.
Shrimp Test 101, new product coming out of Baja. P&D, meaning peeled and deveined. Wild Mexican brown shrimp. Before we sell them to a customer, we have to test them and make sure they pass the quality control test. P&D, quick test, hot skillet, very simple. Squeeze a lemon, a little bit of pepper in there, some salt, a little bit of oil. All it is a shrimp test. We're just testing it out, see if the customer is gonna like it. It's the only perk I have working here at Catalina Offshore, is I get to test this stuff. Just gonna throw a little bit more in there. Gonna flame it up, put a sear on it. There we go. Saw that on TV with that Camp Chef Scott Leysath guy. High Mountain salmon seasoning for the shrimp. You know, even though it says salmon on it, you can still use it for any and all seafood. We're just gonna flip this over. This stuff's ready to come off. You can see a caramelization starting to happen. And so, there you go. Product test, Catalina Offshore. You can see the caramelization of the shrimp when using a cast iron pan. These that are coming out of Camp Chef, these are a perfect size. They're not too heavy. They come seasoned, which is very cool. This is just a product test here at Catalina Offshore. Brown P&D 1620. 1620 meaning 16 to 20 pieces per pound. The true ocean freshness with a great shrimp flavor and a snap. Oh yeah.
Cee Dub, Melissa Bachman, Buddy T, and more trout were on the menu. Next. Welcome back to The Sporting Chef. I'm Scott Leysath. I'm making southwestern trout with green chili grits. And I want to give my grits a stir and add a little bit more seasoning to it. I'm going to add some high mountain garlic pepper. Over here is the reduced sauce that's going to go on top, and I'm going to finish that with a little bit of butter. And now, Cee Dub with a panfish bake that'll feed a crowd.
Today we're going to make a quick little fish bake with some bluegill fillets. We're going to bake a batch of bluegill with some veggies and make a real fancy little dish with not a lot of calories. We're going to start out, and we've got some mixed veggies, and this is just going to go on the bottom of our Dutch. We're going to take our fillets and we're just going to layer them. As thin as these fillets are, we can overlap them. If they were much thicker, we would probably want to just do one layer, but we're going to start with high mountain seasonings, Cajun Cowboy. This is going to give our fish quite the pop. A little bit of garlic. Put these lemon slices around on our fish. We're going to top each lemon slice with a pat of butter. Let's go in here with just a little bit of salt and pepper. We're going to take some butter pats and just on the top of each lemon. Okay, we're going to take the rest of our veggies. We're going to put them on top. So we're going to just put our fresh dill on top of our veggies. Go ahead and dump this on our cooking table. But we're going to go in here with just a circle of briquettes. Okay, over to the cooking table. And here again, we're going to our charcoal up on top, all the way around that outside edge, some in the middle. Okay, it's been about 30 minutes since we got our fish bake going, so let's take the lid and lift that off and see what it looks like. And remember, this is just bluegill fillets, some simple veggies. Oh, would you look at that? Our bluegill fillets are done. We're going to just reach in there, get a couple of those fillets, a little lemon, and there's a quick little fish bake. There's just another new way to cook fish that doesn't mean frying.
Okay, so I'm going to whisk some butter into my sauce for the trout. Take it off the heat and just keep whisking this butter. And it's going to make it nice and smooth and creamy. So to recap, we have this trout that's going to have a nice crust on the outside of it. It's got that corn tortilla flavor on the outside, a big mound of pillowy, soft, cheesy, peppery grits. And now here's Melissa Bachman with a scouting tip that'll save you some time in the field.
I'm guessing if you ask any hunter, they'd all agree that there's never enough time spent hunting. Time is precious for us all, and that's one of the reasons I rely on my Can-Am both in and out of hunting season. During the spring, I spend a lot of time scouting, shed hunting, and setting stands, and a Can-Am is a big help. It allows you to have a little bit higher vantage point when you're driving through CRP or grass, and you can cover a lot more ground, which leads to finding more sheds. Having an ATV is also a huge help when it comes to putting out trail cameras. I like to get into remote locations and have numerous cameras out at one time, which can be tough to check, but this eliminates a lot of unnecessary walking from one camera to the next, regardless of what the terrain is like. Although it's a great method of transportation in the spring, it's also become a very important tool in planting and maintaining food plots. I can easily get to and from remote fields that used to be a problem with a tractor, but with my Can-Am, they're a breeze. Lastly, the features are incredible, including a back seat for a second rider, a winch, and the power, it's second to none. This is one of the smoothest riding ATVs that you've ever been on. So whatever you're using it for, whether it's pre-season scouting, during your hunt, or doing food plots, an ATV can save you time and energy, giving you more precious time out hunting.
It's done. I've got the grits mounded up in the center. I've got a little trout over the outside. I'm going to hit it one more time with some Cajun campfire. Next up, it's Buddy T doing something he calls microzapping.
It's Buddy T, we're back again to build these flounces. Usually they deep fry them things till they're real crispy. I just took them, put them in a pan with a little bit of butter, got that chicken off the grill, got some high mountain seasoning, this Cajun campfire, sprinkle that on there, plus a little bit of onion that was cooked in some more butter. Take that, we're gonna roll that up. We're gonna do that 2 or 3 times depending on how hungry you are. We're gonna put that cheese on there and pop it in the microwave for just a minute. All right, we done microzapped it a little bit. Gonna hit it with that high mountain seasoning, some trail dust, and this specialty guacamole that we made. It's gonna go right across the top of there. So go ahead and make you up some of this. If you got pheasant, use that pheasant on it. If you ain't got any pheasant, cook you up some of that chicken breast and put that in there and tell everybody it is pheasant, because they won't know the difference. It's Buddy T with another delicious dish.
Stay tuned for more Sporting Chef and get a better look at what this trout looks like on a plate. Great show today. This is that beautiful trout with the green chili grits. Again, don't let the name grits scare you. It's just a soft, cheesy, creamy, delightful mixture that you can put with steak, any kind of wild game, quail on grits, shrimp and grits. It's a low country deal. Special thanks today to Hank Shaw, Tommy Gomes, Stacy Harris, Buddy T, Cee Dub, and Melissa Bachman. Make sure you check out sportingchef.com for videos, recipes, and of course you can find out more about all our Sporting Chef pros. I'm Scott Leysath, the Sporting Chef, and I really do hope to see you next week.